Be them boys, or so they were. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, the Cowboys, I've seen a lot of hate for the Dallas Cowboys this year, and offensively, they lost Amari Cooper. And I don't understand why the fade of Dak Prescott is happening, because honestly, it hurts him a little bit. Yeah, there's some targets gone and there's some yardage gone, but CeeDee Lamb is meant and poised to step up. The trading for James Washington is a very underlooked activity that they did. And then Gallup has had some shades of greatness, just never had the actual chance. So, and then of course the drafting of Jalen Tolbert. So their wide receiver room is fine. CeeDee Lamb, I actually really like his value in drafts right now. I look forward to getting him in the third, fourth round. And I know that people are worried, oh, he's never done it yet. And I was like, he's done fine behind as the wide receiver 2. He'll do fine as the wide receiver 1. And then the most correct thing I've ever heard Billy talk about ever was Tony Pollard and how he's going to be the next guy up. Go draft him. He's going in like the 8th or 9th round right now, maybe a little bit different. That might be our boy Matthew Berry bump there. So watch out for that. But Zeke, I'm not against getting Zeke. It's just you got to let him slip. Don't draft him at his current value. I think it's right around the 3rd round right now. I'm not upset about that, but just don't expect to get the Zeke of old. But at the same time, he's going to be playing to either play for a new team next year or try to show that he's still got some life in the tank. So be careful. They just ran him into the ground the first 3 years. That's unfortunate. But offensive line still intact, so don't worry about that. But Dak, I think, is actually a lot higher in my rankings than your guys' rankings. We haven't done those in a while, but I have him as like a top 5 quarterback, and I think he will continue to be, because I think that Dallas is going to be playing a lot of let's get the ball downfield fast this year. They might be in tune to go grab one of those veteran wide receivers that are just sitting out there. So I think Julio Jones has actually been tied to them as well. So what do you guys think about this offense?
I mean, Dak's going is the QB 11 on Underdog right now, which you're right is kind of bogus because he's going to throw. I mean, that's what that team does. I really like the value you're getting on him. CeeDee Lamb, yeah. Tony Pollard, you're going to see creep up, and Zeke is someone's going to take him high. They shouldn't take him high. Don't let that guy be you unless you get a crazy value on him. Jalen Tolbert's very exciting, especially at the first part of the season. I think James Washington and him, they're probably going to go with the younger guy because James Washington really didn't do a ton on the Steelers, but it'll be interesting to watch. I'm excited to watch this offense this year, especially without Amari Cooper in it.
For sure. And I think Dak Prescott I think people are still worried about how he kind of was down the stretch last season. He was also hurt, guys. Like, let's just be honest. He is healthy now. Like, it's not going to be the same as we saw when he was struggling against Denver and stuff. It just wasn't the 100% Dak Prescott that we're all used to.
That was painful to watch.
It was painful to watch. And I think it's really seeped into his ADP going into this next season. He's not that guy. Like, yeah. He is closer to what he was 2 years ago rather than what he's been, was last year. So I think we just need to, relax, chill the brakes.
I think they're going to let him run a little bit more now too.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they're still worried about what happened to him in that one game where he snapped his ankle, and I get it. But as far as back to the wide receivers, when CeeDee Lamb moved his locker next to Dak Prescott's, I think that kind of solidified that you need to be you're too low on CeeDee Lamb is kind of what we all said in our on Twitter. So CeeDee Lamb needs to be one of the guys that you're focused on this season because they're going to throw and throw and throw and throw and throw and throw to him because Michael Gallup might not be ready week 1. He snapped that ACL in week 17. So there's a good chance he's not ready week 1. So that should just be all the more fire to put your draft with CeeDee Lamb. So,
and I also did a disservice to not mention Dalton Schultz. He is perfectly valued where he's at, number 6 tight end. Take him as the 5th, the 7th, the 8th, wherever you can get him there. Just don't reach on him. Don't draft him with the Mark Andrews and Kelsey. Also, don't reach on Pitts. We'll get to that later, though. But
I think Dalton Schultz might be my favorite value at tight end this year. I would put him above Kittle. I'd put him right behind Andrews. I'd probably have him at the 3rd tight end right now, just based on opportunity and being tied to a guy like Dak Prescott. With Cooper clearing out of there, they lost La'el Collins, so I don't think he's going to have quite as much time to let those plays set up. And Dalton Schultz runs those insides. that are going to be perfect for that offense. So I like Dalton Schultz a lot.
I'm okay with him being the third or fourth tight end off the board. I have no problem with that, but just don't do it right after the other 2 or 3. Don't be like, oh, Kelsey went. I was hoping to get him. Oh, Mark Andrews went. Okay, I'm getting Dalton Schultz. Wait a couple rounds, grab 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, or however you like to mix and match your guys, and then go grab Dalton Schultz after that. Do not reach for him. I don't think you'll have to is the thing. I don't think people are going to grab Kittle before him. People are going to grab Pitts before him, and they'll probably grab him in that like 3rd round area. I mean, it's always different depending on what league you're in. I've seen him go way too early, and honestly, I've seen him slip down to the 7th, 8th round. So
would it shock either of you if Dalton Schultz by the end of the season was the 2nd leading receiver on this team? Would that shock you?
No, I mean,
I think that's very reasonable.
Jalen Tolbert's got some time to do something. James Washington's more of a support guy. I would count him as the wide receiver 2 or 3. I'd like to see Gallup be that guy because I think everyone knows he can be, but it's just we got to see what happens first. Like how
I just think recovers. in the realm of possibilities, Dalton Schultz potentially being the 2nd leading receiver on this team should excite people out there to like, hey, you're going to get a value at tight end. You don't have to take one of the top guys because Dalton Schultz, if he's the 2nd leading receiver on the team, he could easily be in the conversation for tight end 1 by the end of the season. If that was,
he's usually going like 5 to 7, round 5, round 7. So especially, an underdog now, again, this is the beauty of drafting this time of year and setting up your players this time of year because people are going to catch on to the Dalton Schultz. I mean, the targets vacated from last year, huge, just with Amari Cooper leaving.
Yep.
So, and Cedric Wilson for that matter. So Jalen Tolbert kind of reminds me a lot of Cedric Wilson. He probably will slot into that role, but they really don't have any, big 2 like they had with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. So Dalton Schultz is your wide receiver 2 essentially on that team, which is great value at tight end. And, the other tight ends guys are really scaring me this year. I don't like Kittle. I don't like Pitts where they're going. So Dalton Schultz is perfect.
Yep. I actually do like Kittle a lot. We'll get into that when we get into the division, but I feel like everyone hates Kittle and it's the weirdest thing. He proves it over and over again that he's a phenomenal tight end. So we'll get into that later, but I'm done.
No.
I'm done.
Okay. Joe, get us on to the defense.
So the defense, I mean, the big one you're looking at here is Micah Parsons. He is probably one of the top 3, top 4 defensive players drafted currently. If he maintains that DL, LB eligibility, it's really hard to beat that. He is a freak of nature. He said he was going for the sack record this year, and I have no reason to believe he can't come close to that. He's absolutely awesome. As far as the other linebackers go, they rotate them a lot. They re-signed Vander Ash for a 1-year contract. They brought in Jabril Cox is sneaky. Definitely someone you want on your radar right now. Vander Ash has been, Jalen Smith is the one that got cut last year, but Vander Ash hasn't been proving much better with the injuries and the lack of solid play. Jabril Cox could really sneak in and kind of run the middle of that defense there for a while. The only other guy I'm really excited about is Jaron Kearse. I think he showed it last year how valuable he is to that team. And they flip-flopped a lot of guys last year through that strong safety position, but he seems to have taken that over. So I expect a big year from him. And Demarcus Lawrence, how could we ever forget about him? Adding Dante Fowler is a solid move. It's kind of lateral from Randy Gregory. When Randy Gregory actually played, I think he was just as effective. So I like Lawrence, but there's not a ton of defensive depth on this team that I'm really that excited about outside of those 4 guys.
I like the value that you're getting for Lawrence, though, because we're in a dynasty draft right now at 22, and he's still on the board. So
sure,
he's always been one of those value guys, though. I think that first breakout year, everyone was hyped about him, and ever since then, you can snag him real late.
Yeah, he had a couple injuries, and he's not, kind of came back to full form. But I think that this defense is going to have to make some plays. One person I want to tell you not to draft, and I mean, you can just don't reach for him where he's probably going. Trayvon Diggs. That man is not going to have.
I was going to say, let's have the Trayvon Diggs discussion. I was going to bring him up next. I think people are going to want us to talk about what the Trayvon Diggs experience is going to be this year. And I think that we can all say that he's going to regress. There's no way that he can keep up the pace that he was at last season to be a viable defensive back on your team as far as to be drafted very high. I mean, he still can be a guy that can be one of your 2 to 3 DBs, maybe if you really want to wait and nobody else is drafting him because they're scared too. Then yeah, you could probably find some value in that. But like, do not make him up there with the Buda Bakers, the Derwin James. Like, he's not that guy. He had a really amazing, incredible run last season. Yes, it was literally historical run, and you could not go a week without seeing what he was capable of doing as a ball hawk. But his coverage is subpar most of the time. It was very boom or bust plays, and it's just not sustainable. So please do not take him.
This reminds me a lot of Josh Norman for the Panthers.
Yes.
Probably about 4 years ago, where he had, I think it was 9 interceptions, and then went on to do absolutely nothing. I mean, my man had 52 tackles total last year, half a sack. Where he had his points was the 11 interceptions and 2 touchdowns, which you cannot bank on that at all. I mean, you want to tell me he's going to get 3-4 picks next year, that's fine. But you can't bank on a cornerback scoring touchdowns. That is not something you can draft. And he's going way high right now.
I'll give him 5 interceptions, but that means you got 5 games that he does anything.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're getting 1 point.
Because the tackles numbers aren't going to be there. And before anybody's like, well, hey, Billy, you always keep up for J.C. Jackson. It's because J.C. Jackson is a good coverage corner. Like it's like Stephon Gilmore. Like, you're going to get interceptions, but you're also going to get tackles. You're also going to get passes defended. You're also going to get these extra points like dibbled and dabbled into where he's going to have a solid week most of the weeks. Trayvon Diggs is not going to have that. He's going to have either the boom play of the interception, or he's going to have 2 tackles and nothing else happened that game. So it's just like, if he's not the cornerback to be the guy you rely on week in and week out as a cornerback. There are cornerbacks to trust. He is not one of them.
In our draft that we just did, he was
Marlon Hunter is a perfect example.
He was the 7th defensive back taken in our draft that we just did.
And it's just entirely too high.
Yeah, I mean, he was taken before Justin Simmons. He was taken before Jesse Bates, Xavier McKinney, Poyer.
This happens every year. There was one corner who had a good year last year because of interceptions. Like, Jamal Adams is one thing. I know he's not a cornerback, but like it doesn't have high tackle numbers, but he gets those sacks. So it's like if a corner was blitzing a lot, like they were the nickel corner.
Like Jeremy Chin.
Yeah, Jeremy Chin he's also a safety. But I'm just saying, like, you can't bank on that. So Jamal Adams, without the sacks last year, was still like the 8th best safety. So he's still, or I think it was even higher than that. But you take away the interceptions from Trayvon Diggs, you have nothing. And I tweeted about this the other day. Nobody cares about my tweets because I don't really tweet that much. But just don't draft cornerbacks. Go grab safeties. I'd rather have whoever the Eagles safety is this year. I don't even know. We'll get to that soon. I really don't know though. Like it's pretty bad. Oh no, we got Jaquiski Tart. My apologies. But yeah, go grab a safety on a team that's bad. Go get the Jaguars safety.
Brisker, from Chicago. Go take Brisker.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'll take my money on the safe 7 tackles a game over the hope. I hope he gets an interception.
All right.
There are so many defensive backs I want to name off right now that you should draft, but I'm going to draft with you too, and I need defensive backs. So
I'm going to go grab Brisker just so you can't have him.
It's fair. It's just I feel like we need to have this conversation for the people listening because, I mean, maybe the people that are in the IDP army and are listening to this and they're like, oh, well, duh, we already knew that. The thing is, there's somebody in your league that doesn't, and the thing is we need you to make sure that you understand that he's not a great cornerback. He just got an extremely hot streak. It's
no. He is a great cornerback. He's just not fantasy relevant.
I think that he's going to get burnt toast this entire season.
What you saw last year was such an anomaly to see.
I disagree.
Even an all-pro cornerback that's been in the league for 5 years, you don't see that shit. He was a rookie last year.
I don't think he's a good cornerback.
Absolutely insane.
All right. I don't care about that. Give us the over-under. I'm taking the under.
It's 10.
I'm taking the under because they're not going to win the division. Since 2004, no team has repeated except 2003 to 2004 Eagles. Eagles win the division this year, 100%.
I think you're right about that. I'm going under.
Yeah. You want to hear them?
Yeah, let's hear it.
We got the Bucks, the Bengals, the Giants, the Commanders, the Rams, the Eagles, the Lions, Chicago, Packers, Vikings, Giants, Colts, Texans, Jaguars. Eagles, Titans, Commanders. I think
Damn,
they might beat it.
That Bucks Bengals is gonna hurt them off the get go.
I still think the Bengals are going to have a little bit of I know they didn't win, but they're going to have a little bit of a hangover this year.
Little super AFC championship hangover.
I mean, Magic brought them all the way to the Super Bowl, and I don't see Magic sticking around for 2022.
I think the biggest thing here is going to be is if their defense can hold up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what it was. And, I mean, as long as they have Micah Parsons, anything's possible because that guy is a one-man wrecking crew, but they're going to need Trayvon Diggs to be what he was last season, or they're going to need somebody else on that defensive backfield to be even half of what he was to keep this close. I don't know, man. 10 seems like a lot.
10's, I'm over, man. 100%.
Okay.